In May 2026, India's Ministry of External Affairs announced the reopening of a famous pilgrimage route. 1,000 travelers would once again cross the Lipulekh Pass, winding through these steep, rocky peaks toward Mount Kailash. The logistical details were managed directly between New Delhi and Beijing. For these two neighbors, resuming the yatra after a long pandemic suspension was a straightforward moment of bilateral cooperation. However, the announcement triggered an immediate response in Kathmandu. Nepal's foreign ministry quickly dispatched formal protest notes to both of its larger neighbors. The grievance is a matter of territorial sovereignty. Kathmandu maintains that the Lipulekh Pass is Nepali land and that neither India nor China has the right to conduct trade or transit here without Nepal's consent. This high-altitude Tri-Junction functions as the Tri-Junction trap. It is a specific geographic point where Nepal's sovereign claims are effectively squeezed by the massive strategic and economic momentum of two regional powers. The standoff is rooted in the 1816 Treaty of Sugali. Signed after the Anglo-Nepali War, the treaty defined the Kali River as the western boundary of Nepal. This map shows the exact problem. The treaty never specified where the Kali River begins. Nepal places the source northwest at Limpiadura, keeping Lipulekh within its borders. India claims it begins south at Kalapani, shifting the border east and placing the pass inside India. To support the Limpiadura source, Nepali officials cite British-era maps from 1827 and 1846. These documents were published by the East India Company and clearly identify Limpiadura as the origin point. Later in the 19th century, British maps began labeling different streams as the main river. The result is a legal deadlock, where both India and Nepal use the same 1816 treaty to claim the same piece of land. Following the 1962 border war with China, India established the Kalapani area as a high-altitude defense post. At over 20,000 feet, the location allows Indian troops to monitor Chinese movements across the ridge. The pass also functions as the shortest route for Indian trade and pilgrimage into Tibet, connecting the state of Uttarakhand directly to Tibetan markets. This chart shows the economic scale that shapes Beijing's policy. While China shares a long border with Nepal, the volume of its trade with India is massively higher. Because of this trade volume, Beijing has consistently prioritized its arrangements with New Delhi. When Nepal objects to transit via Lipulekh, Chinese officials maintain that the dispute is a bilateral matter for India and Nepal to resolve themselves. In this Tri-Junction, physical infrastructure and economic leverage have consistently outweighed the arguments found in 200-year-old maps. In 2020, the status quo changed when India inaugurated a new 80-kilometer road linking the town of Darchula directly to the Lipulekh Pass. Nepal responded by passing a constitutional amendment. This legally required the disputed territories to be included in Nepal's official map and national emblem. This move locked the territorial claim into Nepal's legal identity. By making the map part of the constitution, lawmakers made it nearly impossible for future governments to negotiate a compromise. A technical disagreement over the source of a river has become a permanent pillar of Nepali constitutional law and national pride. Today, the political environment in Kathmandu is driven by a new generation of voters. Under Prime Minister Balan Shah, there is a strong domestic demand for transparency and the protection of national sovereignty. Shah's political credibility depends on his ability to stand firm against external pressure. Yielding on the Lipulekh issue would alienate the anti-establishment voters who brought his government to power. The result is a complete diplomatic stalemate. India refuses to negotiate over territory it considers a settled administrative reality, while Nepal is legally unable to retract its constitutional claim. This friction now threatens the open border system that has defined India-Nepal relations since 1950. That system allows millions of people to cross freely for work and trade, an arrangement that requires high levels of bilateral trust. The road to Lipulekh shows that historical treaties and formal protest notes offer little protection when a small nation's claims collide with the physical infrastructure and economic scale of its neighbors.